Then he brings who? He brings Yoshke, he brings Jesus. Onkelos the Ger brings Jesus. He asks Jesus, should I convert? Jesus says yes. Gemara says, Jesus says yes. Because why say yes? Because they're the real leaders of the world. Hashem created the world for them. In this world that you live in, unfortunately they're persecuted, they're beat up, they're going through a tikkun, they're going through a trial. But in the real world, they're the leaders. They're the chosen people. And he says, where are you? He says, I'm in Tzo'al Otachat. I am in boiling feces. He goes, why? Why are you in boiling feces? You just told me to convert. Seems like a righteous guy. He goes, because I went against the rabbis. What were the rabbis? What was the word for rabbis that he went against? No one knows. Who read the New Testament here? What word did Jesus use for rabbis his entire life? The Pharisees. Pharisees. Who are the Pharisees? Chazal. Who are the Pharisees? What do you think? It's just Pharisees, just a bunch of guys running delis? Who do you think the Pharisees was? Chazal, the sages, the giants of the generation. Already here you see, there's a match. Why? In the Gemara, Masechet Gittin, the guy that's boiling in feces in Gehinom forever says, why am I in Gehinom? Because I went against the sages. You read the New Testament, whether it's Matthew, John, Luke, Gehinom, whatever you want, wherever you read it. Who did he go against his entire career? The Pharisees. The same thing it says in the Gemara. His whole life he was going against these rabbis. Why? He said they're wicked and he's righteous. How? We're not really sure. Why? Because he says, I'm here to comply with the Torah. But if you look at what he says, it's not exactly complying with the Torah. One simple example. He says to his students in the book of Matthew, he says to his students, go get me that donkey. Go get me that donkey, and if it's tied to the tree, untie it and bring it to me. That's called stealing. Thou shalt not steal. Obviously, if it's tied, if it's just a donkey roaming in the middle of nowhere, Efker, doesn't belong to anybody. But if it's tied to a tree, that means the owner is nearby. So they tell him, maybe the owner is nearby. They know, obviously, even the students weren't as stupid as him. They say, maybe the owner. He goes, no. If somebody tells you something, tell them it's for me. Like it's mafia. Tell them it's for me. Forget about it. Forget about it. It's for me. Then you have another place. Jesus, they rebuke him and say, why are you violating Shabbat? I'm above Shabbat. Above Shabbat? You're above Shabbat? You know that Shabbat is another name for God? Did you guys know that? Shabbat is another name for God. You're above God? You're above the covenant? You're above the number one treasure of Hashem Yitbarach? You're above Shabbat? So how come you don't keep it? You said in another place in your New Testament that you're not here to change the law. Not even a yud, not even a letter. You're changing Shabbat.